Hey guys, this is Prateek from Mr. Phone, and before I start this review, I wanted to ask you one thing. So do you guys remember the OnePlus 3T, which was the first T smartphone in OnePlus's lineup? Now that phone was exactly the same as the OnePlus 3, but it shipped with a slightly faster Snapdragon 821 processor. Now fast forward to 2020 and the scenery has somewhat reversed. Now while the all-new OnePlus 8T features a brand new design, it is powered by the same processor as the OnePlus 8, making this the first OnePlus phone to not use a new processor. So how does it fare? Is it worth getting over the OnePlus 8, or should you just save some money and get this instead? Or maybe you might want to spend a little more money and get the OnePlus 8 Pro. So how does the OnePlus 8T slot itself in the OnePlus 8 series? Well, let's find out in this full review of the OnePlus 8T. But guys, before we get on with the video, make sure to hit the bell icon and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, so that you don't miss out on any quality tech content that we put out. Now that you have done that, let's get on with the full review of the OnePlus 8T. Now, OnePlus teased the design of the OnePlus 8T a while ago, and it didn't take netizens long enough to figure out that this phone looks like the Oppo A52. And it's true, there is a strong resemblance here, but I don't think it should matter that much. You see, while the outer casing is a bit similar, the company has invested a lot of premium materials into the design of the 8T, which features glass on both the front and the back held together by an aluminum rail. Now this time around, you're going to get two CMF options: Aquamarine Green, which is the model that I have, and Lunar Silver. Now with the Aquamarine Green, you're going to get a glossy finish, which quite surprisingly doesn't show as many smudges as I thought it would. It's also quite subtle for a glossy finish, and the color doesn't scream for attention. I mean, it does pop and will catch passerbys' attention, but it's not going to linger on in their memory. Now the Lunar Silver model, on the other hand, will make use of the company's frosted matte finish, which from my experience with the OnePlus 7T is among the nicest finishes on any phone. Also, by the looks of the design shots, it appears to be more businessy, so if you're an office goer, that might tickle your fancy more. But coming back to the aquamarine hue, OnePlus has done a really good job with the design of the phone. The device is a joy to hold in the hand thanks to its excellent weight distribution, is comfortable enough as there are no sharp corners anywhere, and the curvy back really does wonders for in-hand grip. It also makes the phone appear a tad slimmer, and this phone rarely gave me the impression of being 8.4mm thick. Now the camera bump has been reduced this time around too, and as always, you get the fantastic alert slider to the right hand side of the phone, just like with the previous models. Now compared to the OnePlus 8 Pro, your OnePlus 8T might not survive a drop in the pool, as this does not come with any official IP certification, but what it might get away with is a drop on concrete floor, because this phone is covered on the back and the front with Corning's Gorilla Glass version 5. Coming to the biometrics, you'll find excellent in-display fingerprint sensor on the OnePlus 8T, which got me into my home screen in no time. You'll also get facial recognition with the phone, which in typical OnePlus fashion unlocks the phone in under a second, and it only gets finicky under very dim lighting conditions. So as long as you have some light to play with, you'll have no issues unlocking the OnePlus 8T with facial rec. So then what is it that I don't like about the design of the OnePlus 8T? Well, there's not much, to be honest. One thing that I noticed was that the haptic motor was slightly tighter on the OnePlus 8 and the 8 Pro, so typing on those two phones was more fun for sure. Secondly, this phone is quite slippery, but OnePlus did send me some cool cases for the 8T, and I've been using the phone with one, and well, here's how it looks. Let me know if you'd buy this case for your 8T or not. Now, should you buy the OnePlus 8T? I'm assuming that you would watch a lot of movies and listen to a lot of songs using the phone, so let's talk about the audio setup on offer here. Firstly, there's no headphone jack here, so if you want to use wired earphones, you'll have to stick with Type-C earbud or use a dongle to connect your 3.5mm earphones to it. Now thankfully though, the phone does offer what I feel are the best stereo speakers in its price segment. They actually feel slightly louder as compared to the ones on the OnePlus 8, and they offer good depth to the tunes and fullness to the dialogues. So if you watch a ton of movies or YouTube videos, the 8T has you covered there. Now, as for connectivity, the OnePlus 8T, much like every other OnePlus phone, features a dual SIM card slot, but the phone doesn't support expandable storage. Now, this handset is 5G ready and it also offers essential utilities like support for voice over Wi-Fi protocol. Now, in my time with the 8T, I tested the phone on Airtel's postpaid connection and to no one's surprise, I got excellent download and upload speeds here. The call quality was top-notch too, and the built-in microphone did a fantastic job of relaying my voice clearly over to the other end. Okay, so when it comes to the display, the OnePlus 8T slots in perfectly between the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro because this phone comes with a Full HD Plus Fluid AMOLED display like the OnePlus 8, but it refreshes at 120Hz like the OnePlus 8 Pro. So how good is the screen? Well, after my exhaustive analysis, I've come to the conclusion that it's pretty darn good. Now, the screen measures in at 6.55 inches and comes with the company's Fluid AMOLED tech, which means colors will pop on the panel. Now, what's more, much like the OnePlus 8 and the 8 Pro, the display on the 8T has been tuned really well too, so not only is it vibrant, it is accurate as well, and it comes with the JNCD, which is just noticeable color difference that's less than 0.55. Of course, the USP of the display is that it refreshes at 120Hz, and for anyone wondering whether there's a big difference between the 90Hz screen on the OnePlus 8 and the 120Hz screen on this OnePlus 8T, well, it's not a big difference, but I will say that it is noticeable for sure. Now, don't get me wrong, the OnePlus 8 is an extremely capable phone, and thanks to its 90Hz screen, it makes animations glide, but on the OnePlus 8T, that experience is just taken up a notch. UI transitions feel even slicker and it does make the end user experience that much better. Now, chances are you might not feel the difference, but trust me, if you want the absolute best, then the 8T screen is the one to go for here. Or if you have the budget for it, the 8 Pro. Of course, the phone is really good to watch movies and shows on too, and it does indeed come with support for Widevine L1 certification, which means you get HD playback on Netflix and other OTT platforms. Now, quite interestingly, the phone can't stream shows in HDR from Netflix like the OnePlus 8 and the 8 Pro, but I have been told that an update for the same is well on the way. Also, this time around, the company has reduced the chin of the phone, which when paired with the tiny punch hole notch to the left, will undoubtedly give you an immersive media consumption experience. And if you're worried about the panel's peak brightness level, then fret not, as the OnePlus 8T's display can get as bright as 1100 nits, but once again that is just for selective video playback. Now, a common complaint that I have heard from a lot of users of OnePlus 8 series was that their unit was experiencing a weird black crush issue at extremely low brightness levels. Now, that issue still persists on my OnePlus 8T as well, but again, it is at extremely low brightness levels and with all the lights turned off in my room. Now, on the OnePlus 8T, I did notice it when watching movies on Netflix with the lights in my room turned off, but at other times during the day, I never came across this problem. Also, my review unit does not have any weird color shift issues or green tint problems either. Now, lastly, I want to talk about a new addition to OnePlus phones, which to my surprise has taken the brand quite a long time to implement. Now, yes, I am talking about always on display tech, which comes bundled with Oxygen OS 11. Now, quite interestingly, OnePlus has also partnered with students from Parsons School of Design to develop a unique AOD for its devices, which highlights the number of times you've unlocked your phone in a day and maps that data to the lock screen. Now, that's not all, as there's a Bitmoji AOD on its way too, which has been made in conjunction with Snapchat. So, if you've been trying to get a lid on your smartphone usage, this AOD could come in handy. Now, the OnePlus 8T is a flagship smartphone, so with the phone you're going to get Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 processor, which works alongside 8GB or 12GB of LPDDR4X memory. Now, that's right, this phone does not come with the LPDDR5 memory you'll get with the OnePlus 8 Pro, but on the plus side, OnePlus 8T does come with UFS 3.1 storage, whereas both the OnePlus 8 as well as the OnePlus 8 Pro feature UFS 3.0 storage. Now, just because the phone isn't backed by the fastest possible hardware, that doesn't make it a bad performer. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here, folks. We all know that the performance benefits offered by an 865 Plus over an 865 processor are marginal at best. Still, I want to know why the company didn't go with that chip, as it's very UnPlus-like to settle for the second fastest processor in the market. To that, the company told me that they believe that the performance is not just about the CPU, but with better heat dissipation and UFS 3.1, the OnePlus 8T's performance would be good enough. Now, the difference between 865 and 865 Plus is in terms of the frequency offered by the respective CPUs. So, actual performance, for example, when you're playing games won't have that much of a difference. And I completely agree with them, to be honest. Regardless, the OnePlus 8T is a really fast phone. Now, having used the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro for a very long time, I can tell you that all three phones perform exactly the same, and even in synthetic benchmarks, the results for which will be on your screen right now, you notice that the OnePlus 8T scores are identical to the OnePlus 8 Pro and the OnePlus 8. Now, even for gaming, the 8T was no slouch and it could easily run heavy games like Genshin Impact and Call of Duty Mobile on the highest possible settings. Also, my gaming experience at set settings was fantastic and the phone never lagged or stuttered as I was exploring the massive open world of Genshin. Quite interestingly, the phone handled thermals fairly well too, which can be credited to the all-new cooling system, and I never felt that the phone was getting too warm to the touch. So, to conclude, the OnePlus 8T offers excellent performance just like the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro, and it is a fantastic phone for power users. Now let's take a look at the camera setup of the phone. Now, cameras have always been a big pain point in OnePlus phones, and even though the company's OnePlus 8 series has improved quite a lot in terms of imaging, there's still work to be done here. So, can the OnePlus 8T prove all the naysayers wrong? Well, before I talk about that, let's take a look at the camera specifications. Now, for the most part, OnePlus has kept things very similar to the OnePlus 8 here. Now, for the main camera, the 8T gets the same 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor found on the OnePlus 8, and it also gets the same 16 megapixel wide angle camera here. The selfie camera is also the same 16 megapixel Sony IMX471 sensor too, so the only difference in the camera department are, firstly, you get a 5 megapixel macro sensor with the OnePlus 8T as opposed to a 2 megapixel sensor you get on the OnePlus 8, and secondly, you get a 2 megapixel black and white sensor here too. Now, seeing how the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8T are backed by the same processor and in extension the same ISP, you might be wondering if the 8T has a better camera compared to the OnePlus 8 or not. To be honest, not really, but I am working on a full comparison between these two phones which should clear all of your doubts, but for the time being, here's an example. Almost all the wide shots I took with the two phones were indistinguishable from one another. Now take the shot outside my house, and here, from the corner details to the vibrancy in the leaves to how the two photos have been exposed, everything is exactly the same. So from my initial testing, it's safe to say that the OnePlus 8T doesn't bring a whole bunch of improvements in the camera department over the OnePlus 8. Now moving on from that particular example though, the OnePlus 8T clicks typical OnePlus photos in the sense that the smartphone plays up the contrast in an image. So in every single daylight wide shot that you will be seeing on your screen right now, you'll notice a couple of things. Firstly, the sky is almost always a vivid shade of blue, and the grass as well as the leaves appear greener too. Now take for instance this wide shot just outside Sangam Courtyard, and you'll notice how the orange in the cones as well as the blue in the sky looks a little out of place. Now, I'm not saying that these photos look bad, just pointing out the 8T's main camera doesn't capture an accurate depiction of the scene. Still, credit where credit's due, the phone does capture a ton of details and it even keeps the highlights in check, but it still struggles to bring out the details from the shadows or click a human subject face with the best possible details. Now coming to the close-ups, you'll find that the OnePlus 8T goes the extra mile and squeezes out every bit of detail in the shot, but the colors are once again not very natural looking. Now take the shot of a pet dog, and here I can tell you that his fur is a much lighter shade of brown. See, this is what OnePlus phones do. They make an image appear more contrasty by darkening the darker shades and making vibrant hues pop more. Thankfully, the details are aplenty in the photos, and the handset also managed to create a gorgeous natural bokeh around each subject. Now moving on, the wide angle shots are actually not half bad. I mean, there is a color temperature disparity when switching from the main lens to the wide angle shooter, and the phone also struggles with keeping corner details sharp and void of noise. But I will say that the details around the center of the frame are aplenty, and I didn't come across any issues of highlight clipping either. So certainly not the best wide angle images, but still very usable. The high-res 48 megapixel shot has seen some improvement, I'd say, over its predecessor. Now you see, whenever I clicked a high-res photo with the OnePlus 8, it almost always had blown out highlights, but the 8T has seemingly fixed that. The details are pretty good too, but there's noticeable over-sharpening at a closer crop. The same goes for the macro images too, and the all-new 5 megapixel macro sensor does enhance the details in the images, thereby giving you a much more serviceable shot. As for selfies, well, the OnePlus 8T is definitely the phone to get if you click a lot of them, and in the photo that's on your screen right now, you can tell that the phone did a good job at keeping facial tones as true to life as possible. Now, the picture is detailed enough too, so no complaints here. The portrait shot, however, could have been better as there are some weird artifacts at the top of my head which make the blur effect seem odd. The low-light selfies, however, were pretty good, and with the screen flash enabled, the OnePlus 8T managed to output a serviceable image. Now, the flash throw could have been wider, but the photo still looked really good. Now, one major metric to gauge a smartphone's camera performance is in low-light situations, and here, the OnePlus 8T is once again a decent performer. Shots taken with the night mode disabled are honestly nothing to write home about, but turning on the night mode makes a day and a night difference here. Not only was I able to see more in the composition, but the phone tackled issues like lens flaring nicely too, and I could tell that there was lesser noise around the edges of the photo as well. Now, wrapping up this camera section is a video sample, and on popular request, I have shot a 1080p 30fps clip from the rear camera, so let me know what you make of it in the comments below. However, you should note that the phone can shoot in a variety of different resolutions, including Cine 4K 60fps. But enough chitter chatter, here's the sample. Okay guys, so this right here is a 1080p 30fps video sample from the OnePlus 8T. Now do let me know in the comments below what you make of the video quality and the audio captured by the built-in microphone. Also, I am walking in my garden, so there might be a lot of background noise, a lot of birds are chirping right now. So do let me know if you can hear all of that as well. And as I pan from the center to the right of the frame, you will see a shift in the dynamic range. You might see the video footage go dark for a bit, so let me know if the shift was subtle, if it was too erratic. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about the OnePlus 8T's video performance in the comments below. Now, one last thing that you should know is that the OnePlus 8T does come with level 3 support for GAM2 API, meaning it will be able to access all functions of a Gcam port down the line. Now that we have covered the camera section, let's talk about the software and battery life of the OnePlus 8T. Okay, so we are now on the final leg of this review, so now it's time to talk about the software experience you get with the OnePlus 8T. Now, this phone comes with Oxygen OS version 11, which runs on top of Android 11. The skin has seen a massive overhaul and it looks quite different now, but in a good way. Now see, OnePlus has definitely taken inspiration from One UI here, but I honestly don't want to get into the whole who copied who debate. What I will say though is that the custom skin has been redesigned to make it more one-hand friendly, so you'll find certain toggles and menus being shifted downwards for easier access. Then there are the staple Android 11 features like a redesigned media hub on the notifications tray, which can now easily switch between two different media apps. You'll also get some cool features baked into the custom skin like an app locker, navigational gestures, screen on and off gestures, as well as a ton of customization tools which will undoubtedly help you stylize your OnePlus 8T the way you deem fit. And the best part is that this experience is offered without any ads or unnecessary bloatware, so software-wise, Oxygen OS is still, in my opinion, the best custom skin on Android. As for the battery life, well, I did not have very high hopes with the OnePlus 8T's 4500 mAh cell here, especially when you consider the fact that this phone comes with a 120Hz display, but I was wrong. The phone comfortably saw me through the end of a busy day and offered a screen on time of over 6 hours consistently, and that's with the display set to 120Hz. Now the best part is that the phone comes with a 65-watt charger, which simply put is a game changer. Now if you charge the phone without powering it off, then you can hit full charge in around 15 minutes, but with the display turned off, I was able to charge it in just a little over 35 minutes, which is nuts. So the OnePlus 8T definitely has you covered when it comes to battery life as well as charging speeds. So the OnePlus 8 cost Rs 42,999 in India for the 8GB RAM variant, and for the price you might be wondering if it is worth it. More importantly, is it worth the price jump you would pay over the OnePlus 8, which I'm sure is now going to get a price cut? See, here's the thing, the OnePlus 8T on its own is a fantastic smartphone and it offers a brand new design and excellent performance. All good stuff, right? The problem is that this is also a very iterative upgrade over the OnePlus 8, and barring the faster refresh rate display and the faster charging, the core experience of using this phone is exactly the same as using the OnePlus 8, and I mean exactly. So be it for playing games or for clicking photos, everything is going to be the same on these two phones. Therefore, as good as the OnePlus 8T is, and I truly feel that the rupees 43,000 price tag for this phone is justified. I'm not doubting that at all. It is still a very iterative change over the OnePlus 8, and if you do not care for 65 watt fast charging and you're okay with 30 watt fast wire charging and you don't want a 120Hz display and you're completely fine with a 90Hz display, just get the OnePlus 8. Save yourself some money, just get the OnePlus 8. The core experience, take my word for it, is not going to change from this phone to that phone. But guys, that wraps up my full review of the OnePlus 8T. Do let me know in the comments below if you would buy this phone over the OnePlus 8. Again, this is a good phone, but it's just overshadowed by how competent the OnePlus 8 was. So yeah, do let me know if you would buy the OnePlus 8T or the OnePlus 8 for the budget that you have. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, do give us a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. Until next time, this is Prateek from Mr. Phone, signing off.